It was my 35th birthday. Rachel, my so-called best friend, the one I'd trusted like a sister, insisted on throwing me a party at her place. Just the three of us, me, her, and Mark, my husband. No big crowd, no fuss, just a cozy night like we'd done a million times before. I walked in, and there it was, a cake with BFF iced in pink. Best friends forever. I almost teared up. Rachel always knew how to get me. Back in college, she'd held me while I sobbed over some jerk. She stayed up with me all night when my parents died in that awful car crash. She was my rock, my everything. But that night, something felt off. I couldn't put my finger on it at first. Just a nagging itch, like when you walk into your house and the furniture's been moved an inch. Rachel was buzzing around, laughing too loud, but her eyes were cold, sharp, not the warm ones I knew. Mark was weirdly quiet, staring at his phone, dodging my gaze. I figured he was just tired. Work's been rough, I told myself. Then Rachel handed me a peanut butter smoothie. Made it special for you, she said, shoving it into my hands. Took me forever. Drink it. I smiled, lifted it to my lips. The smell hit me, rich, creamy, but then this bitter sting shot up my nose. I flinched. She snatched it back. Oops, forgot the syrup. Try this one, she chirped, handing me another. This one was so sweet it burned. I sipped it, but that uneasy feeling stuck to me like glue. I went home that night with a buzzing head. Mark said he'd crash at Rachel's to help clean up. I didn't blink. I trusted them, blindly. But at 2 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. I picked up, and this raspy voice froze me. You still alive? I'm a nurse at General. Rachel bought warfarin last week. High dose. You know, the blood thinner that can kill you and make it look like a heart attack. My hand shook so bad I nearly dropped the phone. Warfarin. Poison. Rachel? No way. But that voice, it was too sure, too chilling, like a knife to my skull. I didn't sleep. Next morning, Rachel called, all chipper, like nothing happened. I made up some excuse to swing by her place. Mark was at work, just her and me. She went to make tea, and I snuck into her bedroom, rifling through her medicine cabinet. My heart pounded when I found it, a label-less bottle with tiny white pills. I tipped one out, sniffed it. That bitter smell, same as the smoothie. My head spun. This wasn't a coincidence. Rachel wanted me dead. Why? What was I to her? I shoved the bottle in my pocket, forced a smile when she came back with the tea. That night, I checked the security camera in our house, the one Rachel gave me, for safety. I rewound to my birthday. 3 a.m., me passed out on the couch, and there they were, Mark and Rachel in the kitchen, kissing, not some drunk peck. A deep, hungry kiss, like they'd done it 1,000 times. Mark whispered something. She giggled. Then the lights went out. I sat there staring at the screen, feeling my world shatter. My husband, my best friend, betrayal. But it got worse. Days later, I dug through Mark's old stuff in the garage, desperate for answers. I found a stack of stained love letters, Rachel's handwriting screaming at me. My dearest Rachel, when can we go public? I hate pretending to be her friend. Dated 5 years ago, before I even met Mark. They'd played me from the start. That day, I introduced him to her, saying, "He's a good guy. You'll love him?" I handed him to her on a silver platter. I was shaking, lost. I wanted to scream, confront them, but I held back. I needed to know their next move, and it came fast. Rachel showed up with a special tea to help me relax. I pretended to sip it, then collapsed, eyes shut tight. She panicked, shook me, but when Mark walked in, her voice turned ice cold. "This time, we make sure," she whispered, like her parents' crash years ago. I lay there playing dead, but inside, I went numb. My parents, the crash, Rachel, no way, or maybe they'd planned this forever, and I was just their dumb pawn. I stayed down, faking it, breathing slow while Rachel and Mark hissed at each other. "Call an ambulance," Mark said, his voice shaky. Rachel smirked. "Hold on, let me check." She leaned in, ear to my chest. I held my breath, heart hammering, but kept the act up. "Think she's gone," she said, casual as if she were picking dinner. Mark let out a relieved sigh. "Good. Call it in." Say she had a stroke. Get her transferred so she dies en route. Like that neighbor's buddy last year. I listened, ice in my veins. They'd done this before. I wasn't the first. The ambulance came, hauled me to the hospital. On the way, I winked 3 times at the nurse, the one I'd tipped off after that mystery call. She got it. At the ER, she declared me in a deep coma. Rachel and Mark stood there, grinning like they'd won the lottery. Transfer her quick, Rachel pressed. I stayed limp, but my hand gripped the phone hidden in my gown. I recorded everything, their sick little victory speech, and when Rachel dropped her keys, I saw it. My parents' house key. She had no business with that. I had to move. That night when they left, I got the nurse to announce I'd died from organ failure. Rachel and Mark raced back to my place, tearing through my safe, thinking Mark was set to inherit. They didn't know I'd already emailed the audio and those kitchen kiss pics to Mark's boss, a hard ass who hates cheaters, and the PTA at Rachel's school. By morning, their phones were blowing up with fallout. But I wasn't done. I knew their weak spots. Rachel's terrified of heights since she nearly fell off a balcony in college. Mark's got this phobia of the dark from a car wreck as a kid, a wreck I now suspect Rachel rigged. I broke into Rachel's house at midnight with the spare key she'd given me years ago, flipped every light on, set them flickering, Mark's personal nightmare. Then I left a fake will on the table. All my assets go to my husband if he survives the next 48 hours. I knew Mark would freak and Rachel would lose it. They'd turn on each other. And they did. A few days later, I invited them to my memorial dinner at home. Rachel walked in, looking like death warmed over. Mark was trembling, eyes sunken. I smiled, served up beef in red wine sauce, the same dish Rachel poisoned me with, only this time laced with a mild sedative. They scarfed it down, probably too stressed to taste it. Soon, they were out cold. I cuffed their hands together, dragged them to the living room, and propped them in front of my parents' shrine. Above them, I hung a sign. Murderers deserve judgment here. I stood there, watching, feeling like my parents were nodding from beyond. Then it went sideways. Mark woke first, screaming in the dark. I'd killed the lights to mess with him. Rachel jolted awake, thought I was in front of her, and shrieked, "You don't get to live and take the money!" She grabbed a knife from the table, plunged it into Mark's chest. Blood sprayed everywhere. He crumpled, eyes wide. I stood in the shadows, filming it all. Rachel dropped the knife, sobbing. I stepped out, voice flat. "Cops! I just saw a murder." She stared at me, pale as a ghost, like I'd risen from the grave. And maybe, to her, I had. Rachel got hauled off that night. Cops stormed in, cuffed her, dragged her out, kicking and screaming. "She's not dead! She tricked us!" she wailed, but no one cared. Who's gonna believe a killer? I watched her get shoved into the squad car, this weight lifting off me like I'd been carrying it my whole life. But I didn't stop there. That last video, where I egged her into stabbing Mark, wiped it clean. No one's ever seeing that. I hired a hacker, drained Rachel's savings over 200 grand, and funneled it into a Victims of Betrayal fund. Yeah, it's my secret account. I'm not dumb enough to leave a trail. I visited her in jail once. She sat there, hair a mess, eyes bloodshot. "You're insane," she screamed. "I'll rat you out." I laughed, leaned in close, whispered, "You should thank me for letting you live. I almost sent you both to hell together." She slammed the glass, but I just walked away. She's nothing now. Nothing. With her money, I did something I never thought I'd do. I wrote a book, The Best Friend and the Killer Husband. Spun it my way, me as the perfect victim, the survivor who beat the odds. It flew off shelves, raked in millions. I took the cash, bought the house where they tried to kill me, and turned it into the Betrayal Museum. $50 a ticket. In the main room, I set up a crystal smoothie glass under red lights with a plaque, "This is where I died, and a monster was born." People line up daily, snapping pics, whispering about the crazy story. I stand there, soaking it in, feeling like I won. But winning doesn't last. One night, alone in the museum's red glow, an email popped up. You know how you killed my husband? We should talk. Attached was a photo of a wine bottle with my fingerprints. My heart raced. Someone knows. Someone's watching. I shut the laptop, poured wine into Rachel's old glass, took a sip. That bitter taste hit me again. I smirked, muttered, "Game on." Here's the lesson I learned the hard way. There's only two kinds of people in this world, hunters and prey. I used to be prey, naive, trusting, weak. Not anymore. I wear Mark's wedding ring on a chain around my neck, my trophy. I'm armed now, not with a gun, but with ruthlessness, ice in my veins, and a mind that never stops plotting. If someone wants to step into this game with me, they'll pay a price 100 times worse than Rachel and Mark. This isn't over, it's just getting started.